Hello friends, today in this tutorial we will be building a full stack application using React.js and Flask. Flask, as you all know guys, is a Python framework for building backend APIs. So in this tutorial we will be trying to build a user management application. So inside this you will be able to create users, delete users, update users, and also you use specific users information such as first name, last name, email address as well. So we will all be storing this information inside that MongoDB database, guys. You can now see that currently this database is empty, no record is present. Right here we have this users table out there. All the information will be stored inside this users table. So this will be the application, guys. You can see we are building this front end using the Bootstrap framework. So Bootstrap is a very tremendous framework. It's a very popular framework, and we will be storing all this information inside a nice little Bootstrap table here. So you can see first name, last name, email ID, and actions. So there is a button out there, guys, which lets you add a new user inside your application. If you click this button, you will be granted with this awesome little form, guys, which contains the fields first name, last name, email ID. So basically, if I pre-fill these input fields, Gautam Sharma and geekygautam1987@gmail.com, and there are two buttons out there to save the data. Click the save data button, guys. Now you can see your record is successfully been created, guys. So basically we are making a simple post request using the Axios library. Axios is a HTTP client library, guys. So basically it's a very famous library. Fetch API is also used to make HTTP requests, but Axios is a very famous HTTP client library which we are using inside this tutorial. You can see that you can even add some more users out there. Let's suppose I write here Tim Saudi and timsaudi@gmail.com. Click on save. Now two records will be added. Let me add some more records here. Kane Williamson. And if I write here kane@gmail.com. So now you can see three records are added, and let me add some more records here. Martin Gaptilso and @gmail.com. So now you will see four records will be there, guys. First, second, third, fourth, and alongside in the actions, guys, we have three buttons out there. With the update button, you will be able to update the details of a specific user. If you want to view the details of a specific user, you click the view button, and basically in the card-like structure, you will now see this is a Bootstrap card-like structure. All this information will be displayed in the card-like structure. It's a very awesome card here, you can now see. And basically in that address bar, you can see that we are using this unique ID here, which is auto-generated by MongoDB database. So this is the auto-generated database. You can see all these entries are stored inside this MongoDB database, and we have this unique ID which is there for every record out there. So we are using this ID for rendering out all the details out there. So now, guys, we have this delete button as well. If you click the delete button, your record will be deleted. You can now see, and if I refresh it, you will now see it will be removed from the MongoDB database. So if I refresh it, you will now see. So there is an update button also, guys. If you click the update button, you will be able to change the value here like this, and also change the email address like this. Click the save button. Now you can see your first name, last name, and email ID is successfully being changed here. So we have these three buttons out there. So in this way, guys, you can see update operation is also working. Update, delete, and view. So this will be the application we will be building in this tutorial, guys. It's a CRUD REST API using React.js and Flask REST API. So we will be using Flask at the back end, and for building the front end, we will be using React.js plus Bootstrap to build out this interface. So this will be a very awesome application. So if you're watching it for the very first time, then please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. And I have written a complete blog post on this topic, guys, in a detailed manner. I have explained each code in detail. All the source code is given in the description of this video. Let me also give this link of this blog post in the live chat so that you can basically get the full source code. So you can see I have already given the source code in the description of this live stream and in the live chat as well, so you can simply go to it. So now let's get started by building this application. So first of all, let me show you the libraries which we are using here. Basically, I am using a Flask framework. Basically, it's a Python framework similar to Django. It's a great alternative to Django, and it's a very popular framework, and it contains a lot of documentation out there. You can read the documentation. It's an official website. And then at the front end, we are using React.js. It's a #1 front end library for JavaScript. So it is developed by Facebook. And for the dependencies, guys, we are using the Axios library. It's a HTTP client library. Basically, it is used to make HTTP request something like get request, post request, delete request, put request. And also guys, we are using Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a popular HTML CSS framework for building responsive websites, so we are also using Bootstrap as well. So now let's get started by building this application. So I will go into my projects directory and simply I will make a new directory which is React Flask CRUD project, and I will be going into this. And basically guys, first of all we will be making two directories here, first one for the backend and second one for the front end. So basically you can now see currently it is empty right here. So first of all we will make the directory for the backend, and then for the front end, and just need to make the directory first of all. So now we have two directories out there guys, you can see backend and the front end. So we will try to write the code for each of the directories. So first of all we will build out the Backend API. So we will move to the backend folder, and here guys we will first of all install the dependencies which are required for this purpose. So pip install Flask. Pip is basically, it's a dependency manager for Python. So with the help of this you will be able to install dependencies. So Flask, you need to install it. Then we also need to install Flask underscore course, CORS. So Flask underscore course enables us to use this API at any front end. So it will prevent the CORS error, which is cross origin resource sharing error. So you need to have this dependency. And thirdly guys, we also need to install this PyMongo dependency, which actually connects the MongoDB database to the Flask application. So it's a very important dependency guys. If you search for PyMongo, it's a Python wrapper for connecting to the MongoDB database. So it's a very popular library, so we are using this. So simply install these three libraries guys. So now we will able to make a app.py file in the backend folder. So there is a very simple file which is required here, only a single file. Flask is very simple web framework. So now we will write this code from step by step guys. So the very first thing you will need to do inside this is to basically make all the requests here. So we will import all the dependencies from Flask. We will import the Flask module, and also we will import render template, request, and JSONify. JSONify is the method which will actually convert the array to a JSON. And also guys, we need to import the PyMongo which we have installed. From that we need to import the Mongo client, and then we need to import from bjson object id. Here from it we need to import object id. And lastly, from Flask course, we have installed it, we need to import course middleware function. That's it. So these are all the 4 lines which we need to do guys. We have imported all the dependencies which are required for building this REST API inside our Flask application. So first of all we will initialize our Flask application guys. So inside parentheses we will put the name of the app like this. So this is the basic scenario how to run a Flask application. So here at the end basically we will simply say if name is equal to main like this, then colon, and basically here we will simply say app.debug is equal to true, and then we will call the app.run method. That's it. So this will run your Flask application guys at port number 3000 hopefully. So if you now try to run this application, you will see, let me just stop my server which is running here in the previous. Let me stop this, and also let me stop this Python like this. Let me stop this here. So it is stopped. So now let me start this Flask web server guys. So Python app.py. So as you see that guys, you can see it has started this localhost 5000. So our server is started. Basically if you visit localhost 5000, you will see nothing will happen because it will say that the requested URL was not found on the server. So here you need to put a simple request guys. So here after you initializes your Flask web server guys, in order to make a simple route, there is a simple command out there. After you do this, basically after you initialize your Flask app, we need to first of all enable the basically the client. MongoDB. We need to connect to the MongoDB. So here we will use the Mongo client, and basically here we will pass the URL of the MongoDB. So I'm using MongoDB Compass, guys. So it's a desktop software of MongoDB, and let me show you. If you launch this software, basically you just need to go to google.com and simply write here MongoDB Compass, and here you will able to download this software, MongoDB Compass. So it is there for every operating system. So I am running on Windows, so that's why I'm using this GUI tool to interact with MongoDB. So just to download this software, it is completely free. And after this, basically whenever you launch this, you will get this address, which is MongoDB://localhost. This is a port number on which MongoDB runs, which is 27017. So you just need to write this port number. So simply I will write MongoDB localhost 27017. This is the thing. After that, guys, we need to get the database. We need to create the database dynamically. So here you will see client followed by your own database name. So let me create a database called as Flask React full stack. This is our database name, guys. This will be the database name, which will get dynamically created. After that, guys, we will use the course module. We will pass the app inside this. So we are just using the course middleware function that we imported from this Flask_course. So basically this will prevent the course error which will come. This line is very much important. If you don't write this, course error will come, cross origin resource sharing. So after this, guys, we need to set up a route. In order to set up a route, you will write @app.route, and basically you will put a home route. So if anyone opens the home route, then basically this function will execute template, and basically we will simply render out a template. This can be index. We can render out a template here called as return render template and index.html. So basically you just need to create a templates folder. This is not required, but I am just showing you how to basically return some kind of HTML inside your Flask application. Basically this will be the API. You don't need to write any HTML here, but still just for the clarity purpose, Flask REST API like this. So whenever you go to the home page, guys, now you will now see, if you refresh it now, you need to run your application. Refresh it, now you can see that it is rendering out this template, guys. So basically this is a scenario. If you want to also write HTML inside Flask, it's a fully fledged framework. You can even use it using the render template function. You just need to define all the templates inside this folder. This is a built-in folder for Flask. Flask find all the templates inside this folder. We need to define all the templates like this. So now we will define the first route for our API, guys, which will be equal to app.route. In this case, basically we will create a new user. So you will put that endpoint, which is /users, and here you will define our methods. So methods, this can be either be a post request or a get request. So here inside this we will simply write post or get. So depending upon, guys, which request is made here we will simply first of all compare if request dot method is equal to post. In that case, we perfectly know that this is a post request. So in this case, guys, we will simply say body is equal to request module that we have imported dot JSON. So we will get the request from the request module like this. We have imported this request here like this. After converting this, guys, now we can get the values that the user has passed. So first of all, we will need to get the first name. We need to get the last name as well. So we will put the last name here and the email ID. So this will be email ID. So whenever we test out this API, guys, this will be clearer to you. So for the moment, just write this. After getting all this information, guys, now we need to simply insert these details into the MongoDB. So here you will use the reference, and basically we will put the users object like this. This will be a user object, and here we will be putting insert one. So basically we will be inserting one entry here inside our MongoDB database. After this takes an object. Here we will attach, we will give it a JSON. First name will be equal to the first name, last name will be equal to the last name, like this, and put a comma, and then the email ID will be equal to the email ID. That's it. So now you can see that, guys, we have defined this method. So now we simply need to return the JSON data. So we need to convert this using JSONify like this, and here we will convert this to a JSON response. So we will return some properties which will be JSON properties. So we will return the status that data is posted to MongoDB, put a comma, and then basically we will also return the information that the user has inserted successfully. So this will be first name, last name, which will be equal to the last name that we inserted, and the email ID. So now you can see that this we have defined this post request, guys. So what we can do is that basically we can test it using a simple Postman. As you know, Postman is a software for testing out APIs. So we will simply make a post request here to /localhost 3000/users. So this is our route here, guys. So here we need to put our body. We click on raw, and here we are providing the first name, last name, and the email ID. Click on send. So now you will see that could not send request. It is saying that I think we need to start the server. So python app.py. So now you will see it is running on localhost 5000. So we need to change this address to 5000. So it is running on localhost 5000. Click on send. So now you will see that one record is successfully created, guys. The first name is John Williamson 234@gmail.com. You will now see email ID, first name, last name. So if I check the database, guys, so which name we have created the database, let me see. If you see, guys, we have created this database called as Flask React Full Stack. If I check now, click on the Connect tab. Flask React Full Stack. This database is created automatically. A users table is also created. We haven't done anything, guys, inside this, so we just need to connect to the MongoDB database. Automatically this will create the database and the table. Click on that, and you will now see your record is automatically added here. You will now see, and simply you can insert more records here. Let's suppose I change the value to any value. Click on once again send. Now you will see 2 records will be there. Now you can see that. So this post request is working, guys. So now we need to basically write the get request. So let's suppose it is not a post request, it is a get request /users. So basically we need to show all the records, show all the users for this request. So again we will check if request.method is equal to get. In that case we will say all data is equal to database users dot find. So users are the table, guys. So here it contains a method called as find. It will find all the records which are able to do like this. So it will find out all the records and store it inside all data, and then we need to simply again declare this variable which is data JSON, and it should be a simple array. And again here we will use a for loop, guys. So basically to loop through all the entries. So for data in all data, this is the array here. So basically we put a colon, and here we will extract the ID, which is data underscore ID. We will extract the first name, which is data first name. We will extract the last name like this, data last name, and we will also extract the email ID, which is equal to data email ID. That's it. After extracting all these details, guys, we will create a dictionary called as data dictionary. This will be an object. It will contain the ID. So this we need to convert this to string. It's in number, so we will use the string variable. Then we need to convert this first name to first name, and we will put a comma here. Dictionary is nothing but an object, and last name will be equal to last name. Email ID will be equal to email ID. That's it. So we have converted this to dictionary, guys. So basically, if you see right here, basically we need to append this data JSON, and we need to append this dictionary which we have created, data dictionary. You can see that. So sorry guys, we need to remove this code from here. So like this. So just do this like this. Indentation is very much important in Python, so that's why you need to do like this. Indentation is very much important, guys, so that's why you need to move like this. So after appending this data dictionary, guys, so now we need to return from this loop. So here we need to simply return. We need to convert this to JSON, so we are using JSONify method here and passing this data JSON. That's it. So this will return all the records which are present inside this table, guys. You can see MongoDB database. So it's a simple GET request in order to get all the users. So if it is a POST request, it is used to create a record in the table. So this is the way by which you can create multiple routes inside your Flask application to the same page. So right here, guys, we can test out this endpoint as well. If you make inside Postman, basically if I change from post to get to the same route, click send. Now it will return, basically it is saying could not send request. You need to start our server, which is once again python app.py. So it will start this, guys. You will now see, click on send once again. It is saying that something has gone wrong. Localhost 5000/user. Let me see what is the problem. So basically, if it's a GET request, we are finding out all the data inside the table. Then we have declared the data JSON, which is currently empty by default. We are using the for loop, and we are extracting all the information: ID, first name, last name, and email ID. After doing this, guys, we are making a data dictionary, which is ID, first name, last name, email ID. Then we are appending it to the data dictionary, and then we are returning JSONify data JSON. So it should work. Let me see what is the problem. Click on send. So let me paste this code, guys, once again. I think there is some kind of error taken place. If you see currently inside our MongoDB database, if you closely look here, basically 2 records are present right here. So hopefully, let me paste this code here. So paste it here. So once again, if you click the send button, so it is saying that the view function did not return a valid response. The function either returned none or ended without a return statement. What is the problem? I have given the source code guys in the description of this live stream, so you can copy paste all the source code. At every step I have completely explained this code. So right here if you see, I think some indentation error has taken place, so that's why it is taking a lot of time. Let me paste it, this code here. It is just a problem of indentation. Sometimes in Python these errors can take place. So I think let me paste it once again. So now guys, you can see that it is returning an array of objects. Basically currently there are 2 records available, so it is returning 2 records out there. You can see that. You can even go to localhost 5000/users and you can even see the record here like this. So it will also return the array of objects here. So only 2 records are present right here. You can see email ID, first name, ID, last name. So all these, this is the ID which is automatically assigned to each user. It is unique. It's, you can say it's the primary key. So it is auto incrementing. So please hit the like button guys, subscribe the channel as well if you're watching it for the very first time. I'm seeing that people are not liking the content, only 6 likes are there. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel. So after this guys, basically we will define some more route. So after this route we will, let me have our next route, which will be app.route, and this route guys will be simply /users, and here you need to provide the ID after this. So in order to get a specific information about a specific user, string ID, we will put this, and then basically you need to say methods. So basically you will provide the methods. Either this can be get request guys, it can be put request, which is used for the updation operation, and either it can be delete request as well. So delete, as you all know, it's useful for deleting the record. That's it. So now we need to define the function which is onData, and here we will pass the ID which is given here. We are passing this ID as a query parameter here, and this function will now run. So here first of all guys, we will simply say if request.method double equal to the get method. If it's a get method, basically we will get the data of the user by its ID. So we will select the database, which is inside the users table. We need to find _1. This is a method, and here guys we will pass our ID which is present right here, which is called as ID, and here we need to convert this to an object ID. We will use this object ID method, and here we will pass the actual ID. That's it. So after this guys, we will simply get the data ID. So whichever ID is passed to the function here, we will use this data_ID. After getting the ID, we can even get the first name using data_first name. We can get the last name as well by using data last name. And also we can get the email ID, which is data email ID. So after getting all this information guys, we once again need to return out this information. We will again construct data dictionary, and inside this object we will write the ID. We need to convert this ID to a string, so we will use the string method, and again first name will be equal to the first name we have defined, last name will be equal to the last name we have defined, and the email ID will be equal to the email ID that we have defined. So all this needs to be going into the double quotes guys, as this is a dictionary or a JSON object. Simply do this. After this guys, we will now use the jsNify method. Basically we will return jsNify, and then we will pass this object which is data dictionary. That's it. So this is all that we need to do guys for getting the specific user information. So you can go to Postman, and simply if you want to get the information about this client, you will put the ID of this client after this. Simply copy this and simply here paste it. Click on send. So now guys, you will see it is saying that we need to restart the server, and basically we need to simply say python app.py. So if you now send this request guys, http localhost 5000/users/ the ID for which you need to get the information, you will now see guys, it will return an object with that specific user information, which is email ID, first name, ID and last name. Then now we will be seeing that how guys we can simply delete the user. So for deleting the users guys, it's very easy. Basically for deletion purposes, we will first of all compare the method. Here we will say if request dot method is equal to delete, in that case we need to simply say we will target the table users, and this contains a method called as delete many, and here you need to pass your ID. Basically the ID will be equal to the object ID. We'll use this object ID function to pass the actual ID that we receive. So after doing this guys, you will get the records, which is will be, this record will be deleted. So we need to return JC file, and basically here we need to return a JSON object holding the status of whether this record is deleted or not. So we will simply say that data ID colon ID is deleted. So basically now what happened now is guys, basically if you go to Postman and let's suppose you want to delete this one, so it will change this request to delete, and if you click send, you will now see basically once again we need to restart the server whenever we make any sort of changes. So if you click send, you will now see data ID is deleted. So now basically only one record will be present, one record will be deleted, you can now see. And simply one operation is remaining guys, which is for updation purposes. We can even update a specific record. So for updation purposes it's very easy. We will first of all compare the method, which request.method is equal to put. In that case basically we can get the request.json, and after this we can get the details, first name, body, first name, and then we have the last name, which is body last name. So we also need to get the email ID as well guys. So body email ID. So after this guys, basically what will happen now, after getting all these details, now to basically update the table, we will use the table name, and this contains a method which is called as update1, and inside this method guys, basically what we need to do is that we will put the ID parameter here, which will be equal to object ID, and here we are passing their actual ID like this, put a comma, and in the second argument guys, we need to provide a JSON object here. Basically this will be equal to set so basically we are using this function here. So this is entirely what I want to write guys, you will now see. So db users update1. After that we are passing the ID, and secondly we are passing the information that needs to be updated, either first name, last name or email ID. So now what will happen guys, if you go to the post request and make a put request here to the same ID or the other one which is present rightly here, you will see only one record is present. So let me paste this ID. So after this, guys, what we need to do is that basically, so in the postman, basically just, and here also we need to provide the change title. So right here, first name, we need to change the first name only. We don't need to change the last name and the email ID. Click on send. So we need to restart the server once again. So this is a little bit frustrating always to start the server. So once again you will now see it is saying some kind of error has taken place. So after this we also have the email ID as well. So if you execute this query, guys, basically what will happen, 400 bad request, fail to decode JSON object. So basically let me write this function once again, guys. So this was a delete method, this was a put method. Let me click on send, and let me also set the content type to application JSON. Click on send. So in this way, guys, you can even update the users. So this API is almost complete, guys. So now we can write our front-end code for consuming this API, this REST API which we have developed inside Flask. So now we will go to the front-end folder, guys, try to build out a application. So open this with the live server. So here we will be simply be opening, going to, we can even, yeah, we can first of all install pip install. Sorry, this will be a front end, and here we need to initialize the React.js application, npx create React app sample. So here we will be consuming this REST API that we have written in the previous step using Flask. So it is just creating a React.js application. We will using some routing as well inside this React.js application, as this will be multiple components will be there. So to manage those components we will does require routing. So I will be showing you which version number that you want to use. I will recommend 5.2.0 for this specific project, because in the latest version routing is not supported, as of switch operators are not supported. So you just need to see the package's version number that we are installing. I have also given these packages number in the description of this video, which is on my blog post. Simply watch that video as well. So if you're watching it for the very first time, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well. So after it creates, guys, we will simply build out our application, install the dependencies which are required. So simply wait for the setup to complete. So now you can see that we can go to the directory. And let me open this inside Visual Studio Code text editor. So basically, guys, you can now see this is the directory, and basically we just need to install first of all Bootstrap. We also need to install Axios and React-router DOM. So these three dependencies we are installing, guys. So it will hardly take 15 to 20 seconds for installing this. You can now see it has installed it. So we can start this application at npm start. So after this, guys, basically it is starting the development server. You can now see it has started on localhost 3000. This is your brand new React.js application. And right here, guys, basically we don't need these things out there, so we can remove this, the logo, these three things which are not required. Simply delete this. We also don't require this. So right here, guys, inside your app.js, basically this will be a functional component. So simply delete all this code. So after this, guys, basically we will be importing React from React. So as this is basically a functional component, guys, basically here we will be having a simple router. So inside the router, guys, basically we will be first of all be having header component. So this function we need to create. So create a components folder. So components folder basically is header component. So header component .js. This will be a very simple component, guys, basically. So this will be a class level component. So we will simply write the name here, which is, I think it's a class level component. So class header component, and it will extend the component library. And inside this, guys, basically we will have the constructor. The properties will be passed to it. We'll call super props, and then basically the state will be empty. So we also need to import the bootstrap, guys, which is very much necessary. Dist css bootstrap min.css. So we need to define this in single quotes. So after doing this, guys, we need to simply use the render method to render something on the screen. So inside this render method, guys, so we will simply say return div, and if you have to have a header tag, simply declare this. So basically inside this header statement, guys, you will simply say here we will have a navigation bar, simple nav tag, and basically this will be having a class name which is equal to navbar dark, and the background color which stands for BG primary. So now you can see that, guys, we are attaching the bootstrap classes. You can now see inside this navigation bar we will have a simple input field, div, which will simply say user management app. And whenever user clicks on this, the user is landing on a page called as using this href tag. That's it. Or this goes to /users. That's it. So if you try to basically, guys, embed this component, so we will simply say, so right here at the bottom, basically we also need to export this component. So we will simply say export default header component. So after doing this, guys, we can simply include this component, which is header component, from component/header component. So it is saying that router is not defined. So just make sure that guys you have installed the correct dependencies here. So simply check the package.json and simply copy paste this version, which is 5.2.0. This is the correct version. Try to replicate this version here. So let me change this also. Current version, you will see it is 6.4. It is not compatible. Simply install this older version of React Router DOM. If you now refresh it, so it is starting the development server, so just wait. So it is saying that router is not defined. Oh, sorry. Whenever you make any sort of changes, guys, you need to also update your npmi. We will simply say npmi. So just do this and once again start your application npm start. And this error was taking place, guys, because we haven't imported our if you see inside our file we haven't imported the React Router DOM. So we need to import this in the basically this file inside our app.js. So basically this we need to import this. So right here we will simply say we need to import from React Router DOM. So a couple of things we need to import here, which is browser router as router and route switch like this. So now you can see that, guys, we have this user management app here. Basically if you click this you will be redirected to, so it is displaying here user management app. So in this you can now see after this header component, guys, we will be having another component which is equal to class name is container, and again we will be using here, guys, which is the switch operator. Inside the switch operator we will have different paths. So the first path will go to the home page. If someone lands on the home page, we will put exact, and the component loaded here will be list user component. So we will create this component. So just close the route. So path is equal to something like slash users. So you can now see this is the component, actual component. This is equal to, let's suppose, either deletion of that or, so this also will go to list user component. So close this. The next one will be the path of the next one is this is slash add dash user slash the ID. So here it will give the ID, guys. So basically inside this we need to give it the component. So whatever component that we need to execute, so this component will be create user component. So similarly, guys, we will have the component for the delete as well. Update user component. So for updation guys, this will change to update user. And if you just want to view a specific user information, you will put this route, which is called as view user component. So after this guys, we will put this component, and basically this his users strike rate. Here you just need to slash view dash user ID. That's it. So now we have defined these 4 routes here guys. Basically this is the first route, list user, second, third, fourth, fifth. So these are the 4 routes we have defaulted. So just now close this file guys. So basically we will create a separate folder which is called as services. So we will have a single service guys. So the service name will be user service. From the name itself guys, it will contain all the methods which you will map it to the API. So here we will first of all import the Axios client here, and then we need to write the user API URL. So here you need to put the backend URL guys. So wherever your backend API is hosting, localhost 5000 / so basically you need to give it a base URL. So I will put here users, and then we will put the user service. So then we will have this simple user service guys. This is an object which will contain all methods related to user CRUD. So first of all, in order to get all the users, basically we will make a simple Axios get request, Axios get, and we will simply say user API URL. That's it. So here you can, as you can see, we are simply making a get request to get all the records. And then whenever you want to create a create user, and this also gets a user object guys, which is passed as the argument, and then basically we are returning axios.post user API URL. So if you see guys, user API URL, put a comma, and also we are passing the user object. This needs to be smaller letters. Get users, create user. Then we will simply have get user by ID. So if you have a specific user ID that you want to find a specific information, you can pass this user ID to it. So here it will return the Axios get request, and here it will pass that user API URL, and also we will put a concatenation / user ID. So after this guys, we will simply write the request for updating the user. So update user ID. So here we will simply say what's axios.put. So axios.put guys, so put is a request for update. So here inside this array like structure, I think the previous one we need to do this. The endpoint will remain the same, but this time this is a put request. So put. So simply now there is so after this guys, we will have another method which is delete user. So if you want to delete a user from a database, you just need to provide his user ID. We will return axios.delete So Axios.delete, and here you will pass your user API URL, and then we need to pass user center user ID. That's it. So now you can see we have defined all the 4 requests: first, second, third, fourth, fifth. 5 methods are there inside this service. So we also need to export this service so that we can use it inside another files. Export default new user service. That's it. This is all which is needed inside this services folder. If you're watching it for the very first time, guys, then please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. I'm seeing that people are not liking the content. Please hit that like button. Let me read some comments if you have made it. So after you made this service, guys, inside components folder you need to make another component which is called as this is over. So list user component. List user component JSX. So here you will write some JSX, guys. So first of all we will import React. So import user React, and also, guys, we will import this user service. From that you can now see, and then basically we will have this component list user component. Basically it will extend the component class. So inside this component, guys, basically we will be having the constructor. First of all, props we will be calling super props, and then basically we will be declaring the state. The state will be empty by default, guys. So inside this we will have a users array which will be empty by default, and then we will also have some more methods to be added. This dot add user. So here we need to simply say this dot add user dot bind this dot edit user, this dot edit user bind this, and also this dot delete user, this dot editor user dot bind this. So we have defined all these methods, guys. We need to define these methods right here. So inside your render method, basically inside this render method, guys, we will returning basically a simple form. So inside this render method, guys, basically we will have a div element, and inside this h2 we will have users list. So here we need to give it a class name of text center. So if you refresh your application, guys, what will happen now? It is saying that list user component is not defined. So we need to define this component inside our app.js. So simply we will say, so here we will simply say list user component. So basically here list user component. I think we need to export this, guys, so that's why export default list user component. So just do it. So right here inside list user component, guys, basically after this h2 tag we are returning we will have another div. This will have a class name of row, and then we will have a simple button of add user. So basically we will be giving some classes to it of btn primary. So when we click this button, guys, so we have this on click event handler. So we will call this method, which is this dot add user, like this. So similarly, basically after this we will have two break tags, and then we basically will have a table. So inside the table we will have user first name, last name, email ID, and actions. User last name. So after this, guys, basically inside our table body, so inside the table body, guys, basically we will be using map method. Inside curly brackets you will simply say this dot state dot users dot map, and basically for each user, if you closely look here, so this dot state dot users dot map, for each user what we need to do is that basically we need to give it a key parameter user dot id, and then we need to say user dot first name. So user dot first name, so this is, so you can now see, so this needs to be last name, this needs to be first name, and this needs to be email ID, and right here inside this guy's td section we will have three buttons out there. Basically these three buttons will perfectly do the job for us. So firstly, format the document. So as you can see, guys, basically we have written the details. First is for update, then delete and view, as you can see here. Simply now we'll delete this for now. Open the application. So it is saying that list user is not defined. List user component. So include this right here. So refresh it. It is saying that user API is not defined. Let me see, guys, what is the error taking place here. If you closely look here, it is mentioning the live method here. User service is defined but never used. User API. Sorry, this needs to be user API URL. And inside this here, Wherever it is saying this is not defined, let me see. So just refresh it. So start your application, guys. So it is starting the development server, so just wait. So you can see compiled successfully. So basically if you reload the application, so it is saying cannot read properties of undefined reading bind. So this is happening because of the thing, guys. If you closely notice here, let me first of all tell you why it is happening. So simply remove this list user component. Currently it is empty right here, so nothing is present right here. So if you are looping through it, nothing will be printed out. So right here inside your request, guys, so we have a method called as component did mount. So we need to execute this method. This is a life cycle method that we need to execute. So this needs to come outside the constructor right here. Component did mount. I think component did mount. This is a method and this is a life cycle method. Automatically it execute. And here, guys, we will make use of this method user service, and it contains a method which is get users. It will get all the users. It returns a promise, guys, so we need to handle this by dot then response. And here we need to first of all check for the response. If response.data is equal to null, in that case we will simply say that this.props.history and push, and here we will push a new redirect the user to the add user underscore add, like this. Basically if the data is empty, then we will be redirecting a user to this entry. If the user is not empty, then we will set the state, this.set state, and here we will users will be equal to response.data. That's it. So now if you refresh it, guys, so basically it is saying that compiled with problems. Line number 13, list user component. Line number 13. Sorry, this needs to be this. So refresh it. Cannot read properties reading bind. Let me delete all this, guys. I haven't declared these methods, so that's why the problem was there. So if you see, guys, basically now this is a button which is showing here. Basically this is the add user button. User first, last name, user email ID, user first name. So I think records are not present right here inside this table. If you see, refresh it, only one record is present inside our backend API. If I show you, basically this is our backend API which is running here. Let me see. Yeah, this is the backend API which is running here, and we have given the Flask React full stack. This is a database we have given, Flask React full stack. So it should output these details. So let me see why it is not outputting these details here. You can see that we are looping through. For each user we are printing out the ID, first name, email address. I think, guys, there is some kind of error that I have done. So let me paste this code once again. So let me paste this code once again. So we will delete these methods and right here. So as you can see here, basically we are compiled successfully. So you will see this is first name, last name, user email ID and actions. But if you see here, basically so let me see, let me restart the server guys. So python app.py. So it has started on port number 5000. So if you see guys, basically whenever we are doing this inside user service, we are making this request here 5000/users. We are making a get request to this, and if you refresh it, 400 message bad request version. It is saying that bad request is there. So why it is doing that? Let me see. Uh, if you're watching it for the very first time guys, then please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. I'm seeing that people are not liking the content, so please hit that like button, also subscribe the channel as well. So I have given all the source code in the description of this live stream. So basically this is all the source code which is required. So step-by-step code I have given. Let me paste this code once again in the services folder. This is the services folder. We are passing user API base URL. So that was the problem guys, we haven't passed the user API base URL. That was the problem. If you refresh it now, basically hopefully it should output all the users. This again saying, you can now see John 234, Williamson 234. This is the email ID. These are three buttons out there: update, delete and view. So these three buttons are there guys. You can now see we are displaying this data from the MongoDB database. So there are one record which is present right here. If I delete this record from here, click on delete, you will now see if I refresh this application, this record will be deleted here. So now we need to simply have to create a function guys, to create a record. For creating a record guys, it's very important. Let me first of all show you. Let me put a post here. Let me insert a record here first of all using Postman. Put a comma. What is the error? Let me see. gmail.com. Click on send. You can now see one entry will be created. It is saying localhost 5000 users, first name, last name, and email ID. So let me restart the server. Python app.py, it is running on localhost 5000/users. Click on send. The requested URL was not found on the server. First name, last name, email ID. Localhost 5000. So what is the error here, guys? Let me see. If you make a post get request here, (404) it is saying. Why it is saying that? (5000/users). You can see currently it is empty, nothing is there. You can now see. Let me open Postman once again. Sometimes it can create a problem. Postman, and basically let me create a route here. First of all, localhost 5000/user. This will be a post request. So here you need to give first name, last name. So it is saying that requested URL was not found on the server. Please check your spelling and localhost 5000/. So now you can see your data is posted to MongoDB. So now you can see. Let me create 2 records out there. 3 records, 4 records. So now 4 records are there, guys. You can now see 4 records are there. If you refresh your application, so 4 records will be there. So inside your MongoDB database, delete. Let me enter some nice little names, not garbage names. So let me say John@gmail. Sorry, this is John. Last name will be Williamson. Accent. Tim. Email address is tim@gmail.com. Devon. Conway. Close this email. Devon@gmail.com. Click send. So key error. Sorry, this needs to be email ID. Click on send. And lastly, Ross Taylor. Click on send. Now you can see there will be 4 records out there, guys. So if you refresh it now, basically there are 4 records out there. So there are 3 buttons: update, delete, view. So we need to simply now, if I click this delete button, we need to delete this record. So for doing this, guys, it's very easy. Basically we have defined these methods here delete user, we have defined this Axios.delete user API base URL, and it expects a user ID to be there. So inside this we will write this method. So we have this button right here, which is when you click this button, if you click this button, this function will execute, which is this.delete user, and here we are passing the ID, which is user.id. So here we need to write this function here simply. So delete user. So basically it will expect this ID to us. So first of all we need to bind this method here. So delete user is equal to this.delete user dot bind this. That's it. So this we need to bind this. So right here inside this we will use the filter method, guys, inside to delete this record from this array. So delete user, it's very easy. Basically we will use this method user service, and it contains a method which is delete user, and we will pass the ID like this, and basically it returns a promise. We will handle the promise like this, and here we will set the state, this.setState, and we will set the user's property is equal to the user's property will be equal to this.state.users, and here we will use the filter method which is there. Inside the filter basically we will compare each user's ID. So inside this arrow function we will say user.id is not equal to the ID which is given. So we will be simply removing the record by its ID. So like this. So now if you refresh your application, guys, basically if you click the delete button, let's close delete. Now you can see if you click the delete button, the record will be deleted. You can now see how easy it is. So now the delete button is working. So if you click the view button, guys, I need to show the details in a particular card like structure. So it's very easy also. Basically we need to define this method. So once again we are passing this ID of the user in this method also. So we need to bind this method basically in the constructor. So this dot view user, this dot view user bind this, like this. So right here, guys, we are expecting the ID here. So we will simply redirect the user this dot props dot history, and we will push the user. We will redirect the user / view user, and here we will pass the ID like this. So for this we need to use the backtick symbol. So here we will redirect the user to this route here, which is view user. For doing this we need to create a new route, and for edit user as well. So here we will have the ID. Once again we will redirect the user history.push. This time we will be doing this add user ID like this. Again we need to bind this method, guys, right here. So this dot this dot edit user, this dot edit user dot bind this. So these are the three methods out there. And also, guys, if you see, we have the method also to add a new user. So add a user, this doesn't expect any argument, and here we will redirect the user once again. History push, we will push basically the user to this route, which is / add user, and this will be _add like this. So this function we also need to add this. So this dot add user dot bind this. Please hit the like button, guys, subscribe the channel as well. So I think this is complete now. So we need to basically now build out a component for creating a new record. So right here, just create user component JSX, create user component JSX. So right here, guys, we will simply import the React dependency and also the component dependency from React, and also we will be importing the user service as well from services folder, and this will be create user component, and basically it will extend from the component folder, and inside this we will have the constructor props, and here we will call the super method, and here we will initialize the state. Inside the state, guys, we will have the auto generated this dot props dot match dot params id. As you see, we are passing this as a parameter. Inside this we can get using this dot props dot match params id. So rest of the things will be, first name will be empty, last name will also be empty, and email ID will also be empty, like this. So after this, guys, basically we will write our after this constructor we have this function which is component did mount. This is a life cycle method which runs. So here we will simply compare that if this dot state dot id triple equal to underscore add. So if this is a case, we will simply return, but if this is different, in that case we will simply say user service, because this is the call for the update user. So here we will simply say get user by id, this dot state dot id, and then we will be simply be let user response data, and this dot set state. We will set the state. First name will be equal to the response, user dot first name. Last name will be equal to user dot last name. This is for the update user, guys. So basically if you are updating the user, automatically all the details of the previous user will be auto filled. So that's why we are getting all these details using the simple fetch request. So user dot email id from the id that we have given right here to this, you can see. So after this, guys, so what we will be returning here, basically this is, we will have a simple render method here. So we will be returning something here, basically we will have a simple form element, guys. This will a bootstrap form, so I will not write all the code for this. A simple form will be there. So let me paste it here. So simple form will be there, guys. So it's a bootstrap form, and basically it contains fields for first name, last name, email ID, and then we have two buttons out there for saving it or cancelling it. If you click the save button, your user will be created. So now we have given some methods here. Basically, whenever you change the value for email, first name or last name, we have binded these methods, change email handler. When you click the save button, this button will be executed, save or update. So we need to write all these methods inside our JavaScript. So first of all, inside our constructor, we need to bind all these methods. So right here inside our constructor. And lastly, we also need to export this component. So export default, create user component. So right here inside your constructor, basically you need to bind all the methods. This dot change first name handler, bind this. So this you need to do for all the methods, guys. So So this you need to do the for all the methods right here. So now basically guys, we will define what will happen if you click the save button. So save or update user. So this will have the e parameter here. Basically when the form submits, we will need to prevent the auto submission of the form by e.prevent default. E.prevent default. And then guys, we need to get the user which is submitted. So we need to construct the object. The first name will be equal to this.state.firstname. Put a comma. The last name will be equal to this.state.lastname. And the email ID will be equal to this.state.email ID. So this is our object guys, this is the user object. And email ID as well. So that's it. Now we have defined this object guys. In the next step what we need to do is that basically here we need to check that if this.state.id, if this is an add operation, if you want to create a new user, in that case we need to simply use the user service, and it contains a method to create user, and here we will pass this user object. It contains a promise, we can handle this by dot then. So response will be returned to us, and then we will simply redirect the user to the users page. This.props.history.push, we will push the entries to /users. That's it. So basically if I need to see this component in action guys, we need to include this. So we need to put the route path we will need to mention, which is create. I think we have put the path here. If you check here, copy paste it. So just you need to import this create user component. So this will be imported here. You will now see create user component. So if you just refresh it now, click on this add user. So why it is not showing it, let me see. Cannot read properties of undefined bind. I think if you see, we haven't added this bind method here. So add user. So up till now guys, if you have any sort of problem, you can ask in the comment section. Please hit that like button as well if you're watching it for the very first time. So let me basically inside my let me paste this code here and create user. Let me paste it and then explain you what is happening. Let me paste it here. So now you will see a simple form here guys. So you need to fill out this form, click on save. You will now see a new entry will be added here, basically like this. So click on add user if you want to add a new entry once again. Click on save. Now you can see that. If you want to delete these entries, you can also delete it, and it is showing here. So whenever we click the view entry guys, so this ID will be prepend to this URL. We need to show details of a specific user inside a card like structure or bootstrap. So for doing this, it's very easy. Basically, first of all, we need to make this route here. Simply copy this and simply paste it inside our app.js. These routes. So now we will need to make a view user component, guys, file. So here we need to, in this component, we will able to view a specific user by its ID. So it's very simple, guys. So how to do this? So this component is very easy. Let me just explain to you what is happening. So inside view user component, guys, basically if you see what is happening here, basically we are fetching this information. We are given ID of the user here, and we are fetching this from the user service. We have this method defined, get user by ID. We are passing the ID, then we are returning the response. Then we are setting the state user to response.data, and then we are fetching all the details, which is the first name, last name, email ID. We are showing this inside card like structure. If you see basically what is happening here, switch statement. So this component is not defined, so we need to first of all define this component, which is so refresh it. Now if you click the view button, all these details will be shown in a card like structure. User first name John, last name Williamson. You can now see. So there is an update button functionality is there, guys. So we need to update these. So automatically you will see, if I click the update button, automatically all these details will be pre-filled inside these input fields. So whenever I make the modifications and click on the save button, I need to simply save these details. So for doing this, we need to make a brand new component which is required here, which is update user component .jsx. So right here, basically this component is very similar to create user component. So if you go to my blog post, I have given all the source code, guys. So this is the update user component. So simply paste it. Let me explain the code. Just wait for the route will be very simple. This will be update user component. That's it. So now if you look at, guys, what we have written inside update user, it's very much similar. We have a simple HTML form here, so which contains email ID, last name, first name. Then we have this update user heading, and then we have two buttons out there, which is to save the information and to cancel it. And then we are simply binding all these methods inside the constructor. We have declaring the state. ID will be prefetched from the props that we have declared. First name, last name, and email ID will be empty. So these are the methods we have bounded. Component did mount. This will execute whenever the component loads for the very first time. Then we are using this service. This contains a method get user by ID. First of all, we are fetching the user by its ID. Then we are pre-filling the information in the input fields by using this.setState, and then we are simply updating the users whenever the user click the save button. So first of all, we are preventing the auto submission of the form. Then we are simply constructing an object getting all the details, first name, last name, email ID. Then we are converting this to a using this service method, which is update user. We are passing the user object and also passing the ID. After this, we are simply updating this user to the redirecting the user to the user's page. That's it. So whenever the values changed, guys, we are simply setting the state once again, this dot set state for email, last name, and email handler. So whenever we cancel the button, we are pushing, redirecting the user to the slash user page. That's it. So this is all that is required in update user. Let me click the save button. Let me click on update, change these details, click on save. Let me see what error has taken place. So it is saying that access to XML HTTP request. So in this way, guys, you can create this application. All the source code is given in the description of this blog post in this live stream. I have also given the basically I have also given all the source code in the live chat. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. I am seeing that people are not liking the content. Some comments are there. Please make a Django REST API. Definitely I will make that Django REST API. Please sir, Django REST API with CRUD according to the project. Okay, I will definitely make Django REST API CRUD operations. After this, we will have the Django video, guys, coming with any of the front end, React.js, Vue.js. How many time planned this project? So if you want any sort of questions, guys, if you want to ask any sort of questions, you can ask in the comment section. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. If you don't have any sort of doubt, I can stop this live stream. If you have any sort of question, guys, you can ask in the comment section. Okay, I am just leaving here.